All right. Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time you guys are listening to this. Welcome back to the Layman's AI podcast. I am Adam.
And my name is Brian.
And for this episode, we thought we would do something a little special, a little different. We knew the direction we wanted the podcast to go in, but what we did this time is we asked generative AI to pick our topic for this week. And through some work with Brian, Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit what you did to get our topic for this week?
Yeah, essentially what I did is, we kind of discussed this beforehand. They're like, hey, let's
Hmm.
let generative AI write our outline here. So I went on to Gemini, and this is like kind of like the default one that I use, and I had them look up our podcast, and we are now showing up on LLMs, which I am proud to say we have made our mark within an LLM.
Wow, one
And
one month mark, and we
yes,
the LLMs know who we are.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. But either way,
That's great.
so I was like asking him like, give me an analysis of this, like tell me this, and I kind of looked through each episode and what have you. And I said, why don't you write a topic for our next podcast? Because I specified that, yeah, I am Brian and this is my podcast. And Gemini was like, oh, it's so nice to meet a podcaster, which, probably built baked into the
Hmm.
prompts or anything like that. And I
Right.
said, what is a good topic for the next step or everything? And it analyzed the episodes that we had, and it gave us our next topic. And the episode title is AI at Work. Is it taking your job or just changing it? And I had it write this outline for us. And you know what? This is our next topic, and we use generative AI to determine that.
That's right. And full disclosure for our listeners, yes, it did give us the outline for the topic, but we definitely go through, we tweak it, we add it because we really do want it to be ours. But we are using AI as the tool that it is necessary to help us save time, give us ideas, generate new ideas. And though I'm pretty sure this was going to be a topic anyways,
Hmm.
we're certain that now is the right time to use it.
Yeah, I think it was just irony, because it
Yeah.
was going to be coming up, and is AI taking my job? And basically, one job that people are kind of afraid of is writing, and we have
Hmm.
to write our outline for our podcast, and we use generative AI, basically to do a job for us,
That's right.
and
We were
we're
using it as the tool that it's meant to be to save us some time and help us out.
yeah, and obviously, I've stated before, I use generative AI for the thumbnails and for the episodes and so the intro and outro music that you'll be listening to. I mean, we
Hmm.
don't have the resources to
No, we
hire a
don't.
musician or writers or anything
Yes.
like that. So,
I will share
th
with you, everybody, I am not an artist. I am not a musician. I dabbled a little bit in all of it in middle school, and guess what? I'm not good at it. It's not a strength of mine. But AI certainly does help make it sound like I have a strength in it, or it can put me in a good spot as opposed to me trying on my own.
yes, exactly. So, we're going to ask the question right now,
Hmm.
Adam, is AI going to take your job?
Probably. Probably. I think when I say probably, I think the current job. So I'm mostly in the education industry, and do I think AI is going to actually replace physical teachers in the front of the classroom? No, no, I do not. I do not. However, I think it's going to become very realistic in the years to come that one teacher may be teaching 250 kids at once and using AI as a supportive aid in the room or the technology in front of the student will be able to help that student keep up with the teacher that they have, which is
Yeah.
probably a good thing given current trends that are happening in education with nobody wanting to become teachers anymore. There's a teacher shortage, and
Hmm.
our population is slightly on decline, which is a whole nother issue
Yeah.
that's bringing up. So I do think AI may actually save education, but do I think it's coming for my job in my industry? No, but there's definitely some ways in which we're going to be using it a lot more in the future.
Yeah, I mean, what you say kind of like during lectures of classes, I will admit I
Hmm.
am probably one of the worst people at listening to a teacher lecture. I completely lose focus. I need a
Uh-huh.
workshop classroom environment and everything.
Right.
And if I had some sort of AI tool to help me focus on the lecture a little bit better, maybe I would have paid better attention in my lecture classes and I wouldn't have had to, you know, I'll be transparent. I dropped out college first time around and ended up going
Hmm.
back. So,
Right.
maybe if I had some sort of AI tool to help me with the lecture part of everything, Maybe, but maybe I would have, been the same. But yeah, that would be kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, and
Kind of using that.
I think AI is going to actually force us as the education industry to change our models. I think this is finally the thing that's going to get us to stop putting kids in rows and having them raise their hand to ask or
Hmm.
answer questions. I think it's going to have to go towards that workshop model. And I also think a classic version of education, such as dialogue between an adult and a child, is going to happen
Hmm.
more often because AI will be able to do the writing for the student. So
Yeah,
I'm hopeful that this is a positive change in the years to come, but it's definitely going to have an impact, and it definitely is scary right now because
yeah.
we are going to talk about some examples of AI replacing people's jobs directly in the manner that
Hmm.
is a little scary. But Brian, I want to
Yeah.
twitch this. I want to switch this a little bit for you right now because you're in the automation industry.
Yes, been
So
demonized many times over.
yes. So my question to you is AI going to take your job?
Um, Maybe. It might
Oh,
take it. There's certain parts of AI I know there's a desire, and this isn't just in automation, but in a lot of aspects of engineering and what have you, are no code solutions, where you just don't write code. I personally don't think it's quite going to get there. I think we're going to go to low code solutions as to what it is. I mean,
okay.
I've been kind of on record as to saying, you still need to understand coding concepts. You might not be the best coder, but you still need to understand coding concepts. And, a lot of the AI concepts, we're just learning them right now. We're trying to all figure it out, as with any industry in the world or anything like that. And I always found it kind of ironic. The automation industry has been, demonized for taking jobs and taking jobs, but this whole Made in America movement right now that's going on, everybody wants the factories in America.
Hmm.
If you want things to be made in America, and I stand by this, and you can disagree with me if you want, but we are going to need to embrace automation on a grander scale if you want these factory jobs to come back. And not only that, they're going to have to be powered in some way by AI in order for us to remain competitive. So it might take away some jobs, but it could open up other doors. The old
You know,
adage, one
I
door
want to
closes,
I
one more
want to
open.
chime in on that, what you just said, because I don't think that's a political statement. I think that's a factual statement that you just
Hmm.
said. I don't think that's politics or anything. I do believe that if we are going to have factory jobs come back, I do believe the common person, the common American, is not as willing to do those jobs at the level at which we were back in the 50s and 60s. So I
Yeah.
do think we're going to need heavy automation with automated tasks to produce things in the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's political at all. We
Yeah.
stated not to get political, but I mean, I would agree. More manufacturing in America would be good for us, but
Hmm.
we're going to have to embrace all these new technologies to be able to stay competitive, as far as everything is concerned. And as with automation, you still need people to maintain the machines. You still need people
Yep.
to observe them, keep looking at them. They you know, still need a human touch in a lot of ways. I know there's a term in the industry, a lights out manufacturing facility, and what that means is that you just let the facility run on its own and does not need any human intervention. I cannot think
Oh,
of an instance at all of anyone's of those that exists, but
right.
that's kind
I
of where people think it's going, but I don't know anyone that
oh,
exists.
I do know people think that. I've heard those examples being used. For example, I did hear that cars are going to be manufactured 24/7 when AI automations start coming in. And I laughed and giggled. I said, I think we'd make too many cars too quickly if we do that. And I just
Yeah.
and then there's the whole quality assurance, which I don't think is going anywhere even with AI. I think it's going to look a lot different.
Hmm.
But I could actually, I'm picturing AI doing quality assurance on other AI. But there's going to have to be some sort of human interaction with these things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that goes along with any industry, not just the automation industry. Like you were saying, the education industry, having teachers in the classroom is still going to be a needed thing. We're still going to need that human
Hmm.
touch. Like I can sit here, I can ask an LLM all day long, question after question after question. I still need to do the research. I still need to find out. And it's just like helping me. And that's
Right.
where, we could, come up with the helpful side of things. And these tools and everything, all these writing tools, um, can actually assist our weaknesses and everything. So I think there's a lot of good parts to it. It's going to be a major adjustment, as
But
with, any major technology.
it is going to be a major adjustment. I've been thinking for years how is not thinking for about 2 years now. How is this really going to impact education? And no, you're right. The person's not going to go, but I don't foresee like a high school teacher or even a college professor being the lecturer or grand knowledge base of, let's just say, social studies. I was a former social studies teacher, so
Hmm.
I'm not going to be the expert in social studies. I'm going to be a cognitive engineer in terms of showing you how to use the tools in front of you so that you could think social studies wise, so that you
Hmm.
could think like a historian, understand the impact geography is going to have on an energy grid, things
Yeah.
like that. I could see it being more meaningful, but much more of a cognitive engineer kind of piece. But
Yeah.
I want to transition a little bit to get this out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about the scary side.
Hmm.
Like, what are some jobs or types of jobs that could be replaced as a result of AI measures coming in?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult as to where it is. I know in
Hmm.
the engineering and software development industry, entry-level coders are the ones that are,
That's been a big
mm,
one. Hmm.
yeah, most commonly known to be on the chopping block. Where, if I, started college 4 years ago and I'm about to graduate with this coding degree, I'm sort of like, hey, you
You're in a
you just
little bit
totally
of
replaced
trouble.
me. Like
Yeah,
all my education just went out the window, and like that is a scary thing because,
it is.
um,
It
you know,
is
you
scary.
you go into college and there's this world available, and suddenly this technology comes along and it cuts you off, where you would have been fine 4 years ago. Like these are like six-figure jobs we're talking about.
Hmm.
Like entry level is the one I keep hearing big time are going to
I
be the difficult ones that are going to be hurting the most.
So I will share with you that is most of the articles that I have read this week in prepping for this episode. Similar to the example you gave with coders, I have heard now that paralegals are in real trouble of getting those entry level positions because the AI can look up the law references
Hmm.
extremely faster, 24/7. They don't take vacations.
Hmm.
They're good at it. So that was another example that I saw, and I do think some entry level positions that don't necessarily require a degree. I, I'm I'm nervous because I'll tell you what, in education you can't survive without secretaries. I don't think people realize how valuable secretaries, custodians, and frankly cafeteria workers are to a school district, and
Yeah.
how essential they are. And I do worry that the secretarial role, I'm hoping that we're still able to have a secretary, but that it gets a little easier as a result of AI tools. But I'm concerned that when school districts start cutting budgets, they're going to
Hmm.
realize that there are AI tools that can do some of the things, such as answer phones. I don't think people realize this. There are AI out there that can answer phones and do the basic part of an introduction and send you to the right person.
Yeah, there's secretarial work. Yeah, that's gonna be a difficult one too because
Yeah.
like they're using AI to sort through emails, sort through letters, callbacks, and everything, and yeah, getting tech support lines, like a lot of the tech support lines you call in and you go through that web right there. And I think we were talking about this right before we started recording, and you go through the menu. If you are calling about product A, press this number, and then you just keep going through this web and everything. At most points, people just start hitting the pound key. Like, no,
Yeah.
just give me to a person, give me to a person. And in all reality, though, I think AI, with the natural language processors, could replace those web menus of trying to call in and what have you. And that might actually be a positive. Like
I
in
would
all
say so.
reality, like that in that aspect, it would be a positive. But there's some people that get on the phone. Some people just want to talk to a human, and
Yeah. I,
like
I'm usually one of those people.
I get it, and it's not going away. I'll tell you
Hmm.
right now, people like still want to talk to a human. They don't want to, you know, talk to a AI chatbot,
Right.
about like about like complex things. They want they
Absolutely.
want that human touch, and I think that's part of it right there. And I'll admit I work in tech support as well, and sometimes I use LLMs to kind of get me going on a call.
Hmm.
where, I'm like talking about like engineering problems and everything like that. So there's, more to it than, one, two, three, four. So yeah, it could help like some of these tech support agents
Hmm.
themselves.
I think the line we're going to try to cross tonight is that yes, it's a little scary because it does make some of the aspects of a job very replaceable, but it's going to reshape the role.
Hmm.
The example I gave in education, whereas a secretary is very important. Let me tell you what else a secretary does that I know an AI cannot do. A secretary can calm down a child who is beside themselves because something happened to them and they need to talk to an administrator. That's not something that AI can do right now.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that aspect being replaced. So what I'm hopeful for is that it reshapes the secretary's job so that she's not, or he or she is not a typical traditional secretary who just answers the phone, fixes the spreadsheets, and then gives you the reports, and turns that position into much more of a, I can actually be an office manager as opposed to a secretary where I'm doing the ordering, I'm doing everything that needs to happen, and AI is helping me with my job throughout the day.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it all goes back human touch. Like AI can't
Hmm.
replace the human touch. And I'm gonna go back to old high school math teacher. Uh,
Oh,
your football coach actually. He would
good old
always,
Coach Hall.
yep, he would actually tell us, and this is something that stuck with me, even as I was learning automation. Machines only do what they're told to do. Bottom line, no matter how complex they get, no matter how many tasks they can perform, they only do what you tell them to do.
Hmm.
And that includes AI and in some very base aspect. They could do so much, but it is they're only being told doing what they're told to do. So that's
That's
kind of
true.
something that's always stuck with me, and I've
That's
always
true.
kept that in the
Coach
forefront of
Hall
my
was right
mind.
about that one. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, you just hit me on memory lane, so now I got to take a little detour
Hmm.
because now I remember I was in that class with you.
Oh, were you?
Yes, I
Okay.
was because
Yeah.
didn't he refer? I can't
Um,
remember. Did he refer to you as punk number one or punk number two? I can't remember now that
Yeah, yeah.
I'm.
I was number two. Another
You were
friend
number
of
two.
ours. Yeah, another friend of
'Cause
ours was number one.
yes, the other friend of ours, I hope he's listening to this episode because he's one of those positions that I'm always worried about. He's an
Hmm.
accountant, and
Hmm.
I'm very nervous for him and his job. He always tells me he's fine, but I'm just a little nervous for him. I hope he's listening.
Yeah. Well. I mean, the thing is, though, I don't use an accountant for my taxes. I go to TurboTax. You know,
Yes, and I used the same thing this year. And did you not notice there was more AI support?
yeah, there was a little bit more. So yeah, I'm not sure it's only going to get more, but yeah, I mean, but he still has that human touch with it.
He
He has
does.
that human
He
touch.
does. Yes.
And that's kind of especially with all the taxes and everything, people still want the human touch. So
Yeah. And
always goes
for the
back to
record, everybody, I don't think punk number one does taxes anymore. If you're looking for, I think he
it.
does corporate accounting. So
Yeah, we're not going to dox him either. So maybe he'll text me if he listens to the episode.
I don't know. He'll text me if the Cleveland Cavaliers have a bad game or a bad trade. So maybe he'll start listening to the podcast. Okay, I digress. I
Maybe.
digress, and I
Yeah,
apologize. I
you're
did
okay.
want to touch base as we're going on is some of the research I did this week because the big hot topic that was in the news about AI replacing jobs was actually a report recently released by Goldman Sachs, the big think tank, the big bank in New York. And I just wanted to read a couple lines from that report, Brian, so we could discuss that because this was something that the AI did not give us, that we used a different AI tool to pull from the report. And I read some key parts of this, and there was some interesting stats. So this first one that I want to read out here, Goldman Sachs estimates that up to 300 million jobs across the United States and Europe could be affected by AI driven automation, with many roles exposed to some degree of task automation. Now, when I read that out loud and read it in the report, I panicked a little bit, but then I kept reading it saying, oh, affected by AI automation. We're not
Affected.
necessarily saying losing your job.
Exactly. That's kind of
Right.
the whole thing because people hear that. Excuse me, had a little burp there. People hear that and like affected by, and
Yeah.
I understand your mind automatically goes to I'm losing my job. No, you're not. Your job's not going to be lost to AI necessarily. What I would say is use AI at your job. Like I kind of touched base
Right.
earlier when I'm on, some calls, sometimes I'll ask an LLM something. I think I use Copilot at work, and it kind of
Oh,
like gets me to a few different things. I don't use it for a lot of things, but I do like kind of some basic ones, like trying to find an example, like finding out if you use 32-bit or 64-bit Excel, which
there's a
is
difference.
there's a difference.
Oh,
Yes.
thought it
Yeah,
was just
and
spreadsheets. Okay,
yep, there's your light bulb right there. But
that's a light bulb.
um, but it does affect some applications in the real world if you're using 32 or 64-bit. And you would think it'd be very, very straightforward and simple to find it. There's a few steps you have to take to actually discover it.
Wow.
So I've actually used it to ask, I'm like, how do I find this out? And it gives me the step-by-step process. And rather than spending 5, 10 minutes on the phone with the customer trying to fumble with basically a mundane task, it gets me right there and it gets me right to where I need to be. So.
Okay, and
Um,
that's Copilot, correct?
yeah, yeah,
I
I use
I
Copilot at work,
we
yeah.
haven't given Copilot enough love. I know we've mentioned ChatGPT and Gemini, and I'll tell you what, we have Microsoft where I work, and I have been using Copilot more lately,
Mhm.
and I got to admit, it's a good one. I feel like we got to give it its just due a little more.
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of give this just to all the thumbnails that I use for the podcast are made with Copilot.
Okay,
Because I've tried a few different image generators that I have. They make the best minimalist images. I don't know, like they
okay,
do really good with minimalist images. I've
that's
used a
good.
few other ones, and I want a minimalist image for our thumbnails. You can argue with me off camera or anything or off mic about that, but I mean it does a good job at minimalist. So I mean
Uh-huh,
it's one of those. I like it too because it's built into Microsoft Teams and we use it
that's
at work
big.
as well. So it kind of
Yes,
it's just another tab I have to click while I'm chatting with my coworkers about something. So yeah, no, it's
absolutely.
and kind of going back, real, job examples and everything that we're kind of on right here. You are you got to use AI. Like your job's going to be affected in some way. It doesn't matter really what you're doing. I would say in some way your job's going to be
Right.
affected.
And I want
And
to, I'd like to, if it's okay with you, I'd like to bring up
yeah.
because this goes with the point you said. This is also in that
Mhm.
Goldman Sachs report.
Yeah.
This is the good news for all of our listeners. As of early 2025, AI has not yet had a discernible impact on major labor market indicators such as unemployment rates, layoffs, and overall productivity. The effects on the labor market remain negligible so far. And then they predict that you won't start seeing the significant productivity in the GDP until AI will begin to materialize around the year 2027 through the 2030s. And I think that takeaway for us is what we really want to say is it's okay if you don't know much about AI, you still have lots of time, but now is the time to start playing in the sandpit and using these tools that we're talking about and have been talking about.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of kind of trying to find a way to word it, but the jobs that exist now, most of them, the majority of them didn't exist 75 years ago because the labor
It's
market
accurate.
has evolved, the
Yeah.
economy has evolved. I kind of brought up an example. It's hard to really get exact numbers, but an MIT study in 2024, I just did a little research on this. About 74% of professional jobs, specialized white collar workers, have been around since 1940, and 85% of them have been created since 1940. I'm sorry. Like from
Oh.
1940 on, 74% of our white collar jobs have been created since that
Oh,
time.
wow.
And
Okay.
about 85% of health service jobs have emerged since 1940. And this was a MIT study. I'm looking at it right now. I'm trying to bring it up here. But
Yeah. And
yeah, it's definitely an MIT news study. I'm looking at it right now. It is from MIT. So
okay. That's I would say between Goldman Sachs and MIT, they both need to have their thumb on what's going on in the economy for
yeah,
both producing students as well as making money. So I would say they're somewhat reputable. I know they probably have an agenda, but I would say it's a pretty reputable sources to be looking at in terms of data.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. And like my only point is you might find a job that didn't exist yesterday. Like tomorrow, you might find a job that wasn't here yesterday.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
people like the entrepreneurs of the world, they create their jobs. Like they create
absolutely.
jobs. Like how many podcasters were there 15 years ago?
If I recall,
Hardly a
15
one.
years ago, if there was podcasting, I think 15 years ago,
I don't know. I
the
let me
the only
do a
thing
little
I
research here.
remember while you're looking that up, I do remember when podcasting first started. I do remember the ever famous Howard Stern went on a rant about how podcasting is just a dumb idea. Go on radio and do it on radio. And boy, have things changed. They definitely have changed.
Okay, yeah, it says I did a quick little G Google Gemini search.
Hmm.
2003, the first podcast was coined.
Oh,
So really, in 2003, right after you and I graduated high school, that's when
yeah.
podcasts started. And now
Wow.
now it's a huge thing, and radio is a lot less people trying to get onto radio and everything. But radio's still around. People are still on the radio. I listen to the radio
I will tell
um,
you, I
on there
listen
too.
to the radio. When they switch over to the Christmas tunes, I am in. I am all in.
That's all that plays in my car as soon as they make that switch. Because yeah, trying to find something that my wife and I agree with, and we can also listen to with the kids gets a little difficult.
I,
So,
it does make it easy to do that. Yes.
but the whole point of that is, a podcast was going to replace radio. Radio's dead. Radio's not dead. It's just not as prominent as it once was.
Hmm.
Will it be around forever? I don't know. But it's still here. AM radio is still a thing, and
Yeah.
there's a whole technical reasoning for that, but we're not going to get into that too
No, I
much.
know for the I don't think people realize with the emergency broadcasting stuff how important AM radio really is.
Yeah,
When
so
yeah,
it's that's not going anywhere either. So,
no, it's certainly not.
and that's kind of you're the job you work in 5 years might not exist today.
And
Just kind of keep going with it.
yeah, I'm glad you're saying this because we in the education industry, we've been saying this to our kids for a while now. So even though, I know it's kind of slow to change, we have been doing our research. There's been a lot more career awareness brought into the high school levels and middle school levels. I could share with you in Eastern Pennsylvania, there's a huge push for what's so cool about manufacturing. It is
Hmm.
an awesome push that they're doing at the middle school age to get kids to realize there is a huge career availability in manufacturing. But
Yeah.
during this, we also are telling the kids, chances are that job you're going to land doesn't exist today. And we've been telling them that for over a decade now. And it's good to know that that's been accurate.
Hmm.
And I guess the big thing is are we still teaching the kids the right skills they're going to need to successfully use AI to be successful in their practice when they become a professional? And I think that's the conversation that needs to start happening now. And in the meantime, before we actually nail down what we have to do to teach the kids this or teach the young adults this also, how do we teach ourselves? And I think that's where
Hmm.
we're at right now. It needs to be self-exploration. Get in that sand pit, build the sandcastle as best you can. It's going to fall several times. You're going to think you have a good sandcastle going, and then all of a sudden you're going to look at it, it's completely incorrect, and you're
Yep.
going to have to start all over again. But that's kind of the fun of AI. They're like Legos.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's you got to continue moving forward. You got to keep developing a new skill. Like you might be really good at your job right now, but that job might not be around anymore. And you you got to work on continuing to develop yourself because
Yeah.
a lot of the skills that I have that I learned when I first started in the industry, aren't really prevalent anymore. Some of them still are, some of them, still exist in a sense, but I see a lot of them fading away. Like we have, new software that people have been using for years,
Hmm.
and some of the older software, nobody knows it anymore. And you might have been a pro at that software. You might have been the man and knowing the ins and outs of that software coding, but nobody uses it anymore, and honestly, nobody cares anymore.
Well,
And
you talk about old computer stuff. I think of
yeah,
the I don't know if you've seen this clip on social media or not. There was a young man who was shown a floppy disk, and I don't mean like the floppy actual floppies. I mean like when they were hard disks when we were in middle school,
hmm,
those floppy
yeah,
disks. And he thought it was a 3D printed icon of a save
yeah,
icon. Yeah.
I've heard that before. Yeah, that's like interesting right there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's you just gotta keep developing yourself. Other real job examples while we're kind of on this topic, I've heard a lot of magazine illustrators have been laid off because of AI imaging.
Oh, I can see
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
will admit I've done images before for my friend who's a football coach, hype images. And
Hmm.
I would never be able to draw to the extent that AI can create these things for me. I've,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
it's tough. It's very tough. But like I said, I don't we don't have the resources to hire an illustrator
right.
or, someone to write, sample tunes for us for the intro music. Whereas, typically a lot of people would defer to stock images in our
Yeah.
case. Or stock music, and that's so generic. So instead of the stock, we use AI generated stuff.
So, as we're having this discussion about being, I'm putting myself in, if I was an illustrator, what can I do right now with AI to try to keep myself either in that industry or pivot
Hmm.
or something? And I know something that can be done is maybe I get a paid version of ChatGPT and I upload I create a GPT, which for those of you who don't know, it's when you go on ChatGPT and you basically create an AI of whatever you want, and it has a very specific task
Hmm.
that it does. So I would probably upload as much of my work as possible to
Yeah,
that and train it to a point or try to get it to a point where it can produce images in the style that I'm used to that I use for
your
my
style.
illustration. Yeah. And then I would try to freelance. Hey, do you need illustrations? Look how quickly I can make them. Maybe try to get as many as I can, as many clients as I can, because you'll be able to make things faster. But I
Yeah.
think that's a lot easier said than done. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely a lot easier said than done. I think that might actually be a market coming up is creating an agent where you could train your own model. If you're an artist, you draw your pictures by hand or what have you, and you
yeah.
upload the images and you keep training and training and training and training. And if you specialize it on your model and your model only, and you could, same thing with a musician.
Yes.
You can, keep doing that, and you could have value in this model.
You absolutely can. And I have done that. I've done a chat GPT with my own writing. I have uploaded my articles, my blogs that I wrote prior to AI to try to write it in my system, try to write it in my way. Unfortunately, it was the beginning of GPT, so it didn't do as
Mhm.
well as I had hoped, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't try that again.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's yeah, not no problem. I don't know why I said that. But but yeah, I mean there's ways to use it. It's just kind of, how are we going to do it? So let's, ask the next question. What can you do about it? Like,
What
what
can
can
you
you
do?
do about
Oh,
it? I mean, we already went through
yeah.
one thing, but if you're a college graduate or you're just entering your field or you're trying to find the next step, what can you do? What do you think we can do?
I think you got to get in the sand pit, like I said already. You've got to get in there. You've got to play with it. You've got to figure out what it can do for you. And that's kind of hard in college right now because I know there's some professors out there that are absolutely hammering AI tools. Like can't use them, can't use them. It's cheating. It's cheating.
Hmm.
Well, it's really, in my opinion, it's not cheating. It's a tool. If you pass it off as your own work, then absolutely it's cheating. But if you're
Yeah,
referencing it and saying, I asked ChatGPT to analyze this data for me, and this is what it came up with, and I validated it and verified it, and it's good to go. Uh,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
I think that's legitimate. I think the big takeaway would be, is it going to replace your job? I think it's going to replace your job as is, but I
Hmm.
don't think it's actually going to replace you. But I think those that embrace it quicker and learn to use it quicker are
Hmm.
going to have a better experience and not risk as much of being replaced at first.
Yeah, I would, encourage like use these tools, like understand the tools, like don't just
Hmm.
go to, an LLM. Everybody knows an LLM, and if
Yeah.
you like LLM yourself up the career ladder, that's not really going to work out too well.
You will get
But
caught.
yeah,
You will get exposed. You will get caught that
yeah,
you've been using it because it does hallucinate if you're not if you're not using the tool well.
yes,
You
but
will get caught quickly.
yeah, there's so many other tools. Like
Hmm.
find them, like find all the AI tools you possibly can, and try to figure out, how you can adapt it to what you know already and what you do already. I say
Amen to that. Amen.
that's kind of the thing right now is AI is coming. Like, are you going to use it or are you going to get abused by it? Basically, I was trying to find a clever rhyme. Maybe I can ask AI to generate a better rhyme for
I
me
don't
on
know. I
that
kind of like the way you said that
one.
because you left it off in a, you're going to get abused if you don't do that. Well, that's kind of accurate. You may get abused
Yeah.
mentally, not physically, but I
Hmm.
mean, your financial pocketbook could take a hit. I don't.
Exactly.
Our younger listeners probably don't know what a pocketbook is.
Yeah, there's no pocketbooks anymore. It's all It's all on the phone. It's all on the watch now, actually. I think like people
Oh
pay with their
no.
watch. People are paying with their watches. Like I'm not even using a debit card anymore. You get looks when you use a debit card now. It's like you're not using your phone to pay. It's like, man.
Yeah,
So,
I'm still a cash guy. My watch still tells time. It doesn't count my calories or my steps or anything like that. I use a classic watch, so
yeah,
uh,
that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother podcast right
that is a
there.
whole. and, and yes, there
But
are watch podcasts out there that are about wristwatches. So
yes, yeah, well, maybe I'll listen to one tomorrow. But yeah, um, I mean that's all I can say is just find what tools that you can use and start
yes.
using them right now. Make yourself better. Use AI to make yourself better. I mean that's kind of like my whole motto with everything. It's like don't let it replace you. Let it you use it to enhance yourself. Don't use it to like allow AI to enhance you. You use AI to for you to enhance you. That was a oh
Hmm.
man, that was a pretty elongated like
But I like
rambling
it.
right there.
It's good stuff, and
Yeah.
it is. We are at the well, we're already at 36 minutes rolling. It seems so. I
Yep.
guess you're going to have to close this one out, but I'm glad you ended it
Yeah.
on that because I agree with you, and I think our listeners agree with you. And our again, big takeaway: this is not going
Yeah.
to get you fired, but you do need to
hmm
know how to utilize it because your job's going to change.
Yep, that's the big thing right there. It's it's changing your job. It's going to change your job. It's going to make it different, evolve. Like that's
Hmm.
all you can do. That's all you've ever been able to do. You got to keep doing it. And this is one of those seismic shifts right there that you can do. You can either use it or it's you're going to get passed by people that are using it. So
Yep.
just try the different tools, and that's all I can really say about that. And is AI taking your job? It's taking your job, but it's not taking you. It's not going to take you. Like, don't let it take you. But either way, I think that's going to be all the time that we have for this. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Brian,
And I am Adam.
and you were listening to Layman's AI, and we will see you next week.